So here's a question for you. Would you benefit from ongoing support to improve your sales conversations and ultimately close more business? The Sales Maven Society offers you daily support for your urgent sales questions, an extensive library of bite-sized trainings to hone your selling skills, and monthly live coaching calls where you receive individualized coaching from me specific to your business so that you're able to remove any bottlenecks in your sales process. This is the most robust sales coaching program around for an incredible value of only $147 a month. And you can join now for your first month for only $47. You get access to absolutely everything, including the live coaching calls with me. Come check it out and see if this is the place for you to really elevate your business to the next level. You can do this by going to yoursalesmaven.com/society, hit the join now button. And then when it takes you to that page, enter this code, the number 4, the number 7, and the word trial, TRIAL. So 47 trial, all one word, and you'll be a member. I can't wait to see you in there. Now, here's the podcast.
Do sales conversations make you feel awkward or pushy? It's time to ditch the outdated salesy strategies. Your guide, Nikki Roush, will show you how to combine kindness with selling skills to meet your prospects where they are, and in the process, how to up-level your influence and income. Learn how to earn business easily and effortlessly. Here's Nikki.
Welcome to the Sales Maven podcast. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. This episode is one of our Mastering Excellence series. That means that we are digging into my background of neurolinguistic programming, and I'm interviewing a guest asking about their structure for excellence, of how they get exceptional results in one area of their life or business. So once you understand structure of how somebody's excelling, you can then put that structure into your own life or business so that you get similar results. And I have a special guest here today that I am super excited to introduce you to if you don't already know her. And it's Cinthia Pacheco. Now, let me tell you a little bit about her. Cinthia Pacheco is the owner and founder of Digital Bloom IQ. It's a digital marketing agency specialized in helping health and wellness brands grow their businesses and heal the world. She and her team are incredibly passionate about assisting female founders in making an impact and partnering with their clients to reach more people who are already searching for them online. After 5 years of corporate working with companies like Avon, Sears, and Hyundai, she transitioned into the small business world, focusing on creating a digital marketing agency that specializes in SEO and Google Analytics services. She is on a mission to inspire health and wellness businesses to be more intentional about their SEO marketing and share more of their healing talents. When she's not working, you can find her playing with her daughter, chilling with her boyfriend, or watching Gilmore Girls on her couch. Cinthia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nikki.
I'm so really excited. I'm so excited to have you here. I love your bio. I love that the Gilmore Girls is your thing. That makes me happy. And and that you're like the SEO expert. I will say SEO is the thing that if anybody ever asked me, what's something you wish you had paid attention to sooner in your business? My answer is always SEO. I wish I had known what I know now, which isn't a lot about SEO, but I really, really wish when I was first starting out, I would have made that a priority.
Yeah.
Do you get that a lot from people?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, when you have a site, whether you do, SEO, quote unquote, do SEO or not, Google is going to find your site and decide what they want about it. So instead of letting that be whatever it is, and there are people who just rank naturally, but it's just so much more powerful when you take ownership of that. And so it's kind of the only marketing channel that kind of does that, because everything else you have to be really focused and intentional of like, okay, I'm starting a podcast, I'm doing Instagram. But SEO is one of those things that's in the background and we're all kind of doing it. So how can we do that just way more intentionally and understand how to measure it? I think that's the big question for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I know from the very first time that we met, which wasn't too long ago, that that is your thing, right? Like this is your superpower. And so I had asked you specifically to come on the podcast and talk about crafting an SEO strategy for your business and doing it from my NLP lens of the digging into the structure of the excellence. So that's what we're going to talk about today, crafting an SEO strategy. And you've been so gracious to say yes to let me just kind of play and ask you questions and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I love this. And I love this NLP lens. I don't think I never thought I'd talk about SEO and NLP kind of in the same conversation.
Well, we'll see how it goes, right? Like we'll see how if I can make it work. But you are perfect and you'll be perfect. And I know people are going to learn from you today. So my first question is, if I were to stand in for you for a day, so imagine I get to take on your personality. I'm stepping into your shoes and I'm thinking about my business and specifically my SEO strategy. So, and crafting an SEO strategy for my business. What would I have to do or think, or how would I have to behave to be in that first kind of step process of crafting that strategy?
Curious.
Oh,
very, very curious and open-minded.
Okay.
The first stage of SEO is understanding your audience and doing an audit. For most of our clients, we start with, and even for my own SEO, I come like my own website, my own business, I come back to what's working, what's not working, who am I attracting? And even forgetting about SEO for a little bit, like forgetting about marketing is really who do I want to impact? Who's this like ideal person who's on the other side of the screen, who I'm dying, to reach. And I know that my work changes their life, basically.
I love that. Okay, so I've got to approach it being curious, open-minded, and that first stage is understanding my audience, and that involves doing an audit and asking myself, who do I really want to impact? Whose lives can I change?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then what specifically would I have to do? Like what would be that next step?
Yeah. So we usually do a search persona exercise. And so this is similar to what we call, I guess in business, like an ideal persona or a client avatar or whatever you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
But this one's specifically to search. So we start asking questions of, what is this person searching when it's 2 a.m. and there's something going on in their life and they pull out their phone because they can't sleep, and what do they search in Google? And I like to invite clients to even imagine what they're searching beyond their specific set of services and products, because it's easy for us to get tunnel vision with what we're selling and what we're promoting. So I tell clients, think beyond that, like what's going on in their life, like what's their day-to-day like, and just really go there. And so that usually comes out in conversations and calls where we use our imagination. And then sometimes we also go out and survey audiences. So another step of this would be sending an email survey, surveying through social media, even through phone calls, inviting specific people who we're interested in to answer some questions around how they use Google, how they, what their problems are, what's going on in their life. And so that gives us clues of this search persona that we can start to build. And that's the building block for everything else we do with SEO. Because if we're not understanding who we want to search, who we want to track through search, it's like we're kind of guessing, right, with our SEO, right? Like we want to make sure that there's a real clarity and connection, at least from the beginning, right, to who we want to attract.
Okay, so I love this idea of crafting this survey, and the way that you broke it down is that it's not just one way of surveying. Like maybe there's going to be some questions on social media, there's going to be an email survey, maybe even a phone survey of really digging in and understanding how people are using Google.
Absolutely.
I feel like I would be terrified if somebody asked them to show me my like Google search history. I think people would be like, this lady's insane. The things she searches on Google.
It's very private, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, it's important to, I mean, it even goes beyond SEO. Like, how are we building relationships with our audience? You know, like, are we getting on the phone with people, and do we have, it doesn't have to happen with everybody, right? But like, do we have a handful of audience, students, clients that we can talk to, just have normal conversations with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like suddenly I feel like sometimes we want to keep it, it's like we want to attract those sales and we want to whatever, reach our revenue goals, but we're keeping our audience at arm's length. And so it does push a lot of people of like, oh, I have to ask them these vulnerable questions. But there's people who do want to open up. And I find that the responses might not be what you expect to some of the questions. There might be some things that because you know, in many cases, you are your own audience. You have like an intuition to that. But sometimes some answers might shock you, you know, about what they tell you.
I love it. Okay. So what are your goals when you are crafting an SEO strategy?
My goals. I want the client to feel excited and also relief at the same time. Like that it's like, if we're feeling like that during, and especially at the end of the process, then I know I've done my job. Another goal is to get really clear on, again, aligning with this search persona, but also the goals that the client has, and making sure that we are working towards the same goals. Because again, there's so many different clients come to us and we say SEO, but maybe they think SEO is something else, or they don't understand, right? So us as experts, we need to make sure we're aligned with what they're envisioning as success and what we're envisioning as success. And I always say to the client, you're the expert in what you do. So you take ownership of your success and we're going to help you get there. So one of the goals is to make sure that we are measuring, like from a technical point of view, like we're measuring the same metrics of sales or leads or, course signups or email signups, whatever they're really interested in. And it could be all those things. And making sure we're speaking to that. And we're not speaking to SEO metrics that like impressions or clicks that clients maybe understand, but maybe don't. So we really try to speak to the client's goals and kind of translate that for them in a way. Okay. So I'd say those are two of our big goals when we're working with clients.
Yeah. And what about for your own SEO strategy? What are your goals?
For my own SEO strategy, obviously I want traffic growth, but more important than traffic growth is understanding where am I getting more traction in different, like people come to me and they're like, I want to grow my site traffic. Okay, great. So they think it's kind of like a mountain graph. Like it's just like, whoop, like going up. Like if someone's listening to this, it's me. I'm moving my finger in a vertical direction upwards.
Yeah, like a straight line.
But in most cases, in all cases, it's very normal to have seasons of drops of, up, down, up, down. Most site traffic looks like a heartbeat. And that's normal. That's super normal. Even in large sites, like no one has like this infinite growth upwards. Now, over time, we do want to see a trend of growth. And that's what I'm focused on with my SEO. But more importantly, my goal again is to understand like why are certain posts doing better than others? Like what seems to be kind of the trend of success for my content and my SEO strategy that I can learn from and I can continue to duplicate and repeat. And so sometimes it happens that a post that was doing really well isn't doing well anymore. And to me, my goal there is to learn why, like what's going on there. And if I can figure that out, or if I have some clues, that's success. And yeah, so I don't believe like putting all your eggs in one basket in terms of just one blog post and that's going to skyrocket your traffic. It has to be a variety of strategies that you're working on and you're playing with. And there's always experimentation that has to be included.
I've never heard anybody describe it the way that you just said, of like your data will probably look more like a heartbeat. Yeah. I love that so much. And then approaching it, like you said, with this like curiosity of like, okay, so what's changed, or what can I do different, or what should I be paying attention to? That is fantastic. You've given me a whole new, just even that. I'm like, oh, because in my mind, I'm thinking it should always be growing, right? Like it should just be growing.
Of course, that's the ideal.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of clients we get triggered by our numbers, right? And this happens beyond SEO. Like we see our emails, open rate, and if we are in a season of a lower open rate, suddenly, maybe we're not as inspired and we react to what's going on with these numbers. And it's insane. It's like, no, like, don't let a graph going down mean, oh, like, I'm going to stop blogging. No, let's learn from this. This is like an opportunity, a deep opportunity to understand what can we do to improve it, right? And yeah, I mean, I've done it for myself. Like I'm not happy. Actually, right now, my traffic, Google did an update in December, and I have like a bit of a loss of traffic. And so I'm sitting down this month and like looking at that, and I have all these new ideas because suddenly like there's this fluctuation, right? So again, in the long term, we want to grow our businesses, we want to succeed, but there's seasons of that. And I feel like we shouldn't be reacting to one season of maybe a lower dip of traffic, or, whatever is going on for you right now in your business.
Well, I do like this idea too of looking at those times where maybe there is a lull or you've taken a dip, and that, like you're saying, that then maybe spurs some new ideas for you, some new creativity.
Absolutely.
That's a really nice way to reframe versus like getting disappointed or feeling, rejected or whatever. It's more like, I'm going to get curious and get creative. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or what can I improve? Like sometimes with the Search Console, which is an SEO tool that I recommend to all my clients and students, you can actually see which pages are doing worse or better. So you can filter, and you can look at maybe a page that lost traffic and start to evaluate, why did this happen? And so compared to other marketing, sometimes it's about like scrapping and starting fresh or pivoting. But with SEO, you take what's not working and you actually just add to it, or you remove things, or, you work with what's already there. And sometimes it's just those small shifts, and then suddenly it starts doing well again. So it's really interesting, because I think with social media, at least for me, I feel like we're always trained to create new content. It's like this pumping this engine, right? With SEO, it's completely different. It's actually, once you get traction, the focus is looking at what you have, and then how to maintain that, how to improve it, which of course there can be elements of adding new things there, but sometimes it's actually about adding a better structure, like improving the structure of the content, or removing old things that aren't relevant anymore, right? So it really changes just how you approach your website and your content in many ways.
I love that. I teach every kind of at the end of the year, usually November, December, I teach a masterclass called Content Creation for Revenue Generation. And in there, I talk about recycle, repurpose, and reuse your content. And I find that a lot of people have that, like everything has to be new, everything has to be fresh, but really it's having a consistent, I find, message that helps to speak to your thought leadership when you have this consistent message. So I love that you're talking about taking something you've already done and created and maybe freshening it up a little bit or tweaking it a little bit, but you're not just like throwing it out and being like, well, what's new?
Right.
I think that is
right.
that makes me super excited about, another reason why I love this idea of crafting your SEO strategy. Okay. So my next goal is, so you talked about your goals, like traffic growth, but also like, where are you getting your traction? What do you do to actually reach the goals that you've set regarding your SEO strategy?
Such a good question. What do I do? So like I said at the beginning, it's really important for me to understand the search persona, because when I sit down to decide what changes I want to make to do the things I want to do, which I want to say in a second what they are, I want to have this person in my head. And I actually like to imagine that they're sitting with me, like we're having coffee or we're just talking, like no screens, no, internet, whatever. And that lets me make I feel like the decisions I make when I really visualize this person changes. And that's the thing with SEO. Like there's a lot of people feel like there's this checklist of tasks that need to be done. And yes, there's like a technical part of SEO that involves understanding code, understanding how websites work and all that. Like that's absolutely valid. But again, if you're not understanding who you're targeting and you're not thinking about them, you can put all the lovely code you want on your site, but it might not actually be helpful, right, to them. So we want to think about how can we speak to them? How can we be helpful to them? For example, like a concise example here is that everybody, talks about how long blog posts rank better. And this is an absolute myth, because I've seen multiple clients. I actually had one client who had no more than 500 words. She is a blogger, I should say. And her blog post did phenomenal, and they were no more than 500 words. So here the thing is, like, we're assuming, depending on how we're helping that person, what is more useful to them, a 500 word blog post or a 5,000 word blog post? Again, we need to understand, what are they needing? What's their expectations, or like what's going on for them to get value from our website and from our content. So for me, first step, visualize this person. And then obviously I sit down and I make a list of things that I think that need to happen to improve the website experience. So I try and look at my site or the specific page that I'm working on. And I really try and pretend that I've never seen this site before. It's hard, right? But like our site's like our home. You leave a glass of water and maybe it's sitting there on the table for weeks, and because you stop seeing it, right?
Yes.
So the same thing happens with our site. You're so used to seeing it, but that's why it's sometimes helpful to hire other people to look at our sites with fresh eyes. But when I do it for myself, I invite team members. Again, sometimes I might ask for feedback from certain people that I think are good people to ask for feedback from when it comes to websites. And then I just prioritize those tasks that I've brainstormed after looking at my site. So if it's a technical task like site speed, like let's say my site's loading very slowly, there I would, take action on that. Like look at what's slowing this down. Is it the images? Is it the way things are loading on the page? So that's more of a technical action, right? Now, when it comes to content creation, so let's say I'm sitting down and I'm wanting to rank better because I want to write new content. Again, I'm identifying this person and what they're searching, which comes into this whole idea of keywords. And there I'm just writing useful content, right? So there's all these different methodologies around that, but that's another action like a lot of people maybe who aren't as technical can take, of writing content and targeting words that we know this ideal person is using to help them, right? And to change their life in a way.
I love that. Okay. So we talked about what you do to reach your goals. How do you know that it's time to pay attention to your SEO strategy? What are some key indicators that you're like, ooh, I need to give this some time and attention?
I just kind of like what we said at the beginning, I feel like it's always something that people need to look at. Now, yes, there may be moments where you have more time, energy, money, to invest more intentionally in your SEO. One indicator could be that your traffic is growing. And so you want to know why, like, what are you doing, that's good, that seems to be getting traction. So doing an SEO audit can uncover like what is doing well, like what are the pages, what are the keywords, what are the aspects of your site that seem to be really sticking with people. Another reason maybe is that your traffic goes down, right? So it can go both ways. I think a lot of people that it's kind of more reactive in that way. Although I find that the people who have the traffic go down, they have been looking at their traffic, right? There's the whole subset of business owners who don't even know like what SEO is doing for them because they don't know how to separate social media traffic from SEO traffic from, people just typing in their website directly from the browser. So, if things are going well, could be an indicator. Another indicator is if you're feeling a little burnt out with your other marketing, and especially if you're kind of burnt out with social, or you already have social and it's working well. Like it doesn't necessarily need to be negative. Mm-hmm. SEO can be great to complement these other marketing funnels and channels that require a little bit more ongoing support, I guess, or ongoing content, right? So it works really well if, you already are doing the Instagram thing and it seems to be working. How can we complement that? Or you have a podcast, but you want to take that content and have it rank on Google as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like a nice complementary foundational strategy to everything else you're doing in your business.
Fantastic. I feel like there's more I should be asking you, but what I really want to ask you is, what do you think are some of the key mistakes that people make regarding their SEO?
One thing, they think it's like set it and forget it. I guess it's more like a mindset mistake, and there's a lot of SEOs, and there's different SEO services that kind of maybe pitch this idea of like, we'll set up your title tags and your meta tags and your image tags, and that's it. You'll be done. Mm-hmm. And yes, doing those things can help, like to some extent, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. And SEO to me is kind of like doing exercise, going to the gym, whatever, whatever inspires you to move your body. You can't just go to the gym once and then that's it. Like you need to move, you need to find whatever healthy way that feels good to you. And so the mistake, I feel is like they either ignore it for a long time or they don't really know, like they don't identify like how to track it as well. Like mm-hmm. just getting that education, I feel like can be really helpful. Like think of all the other things you've learned in your business. Could you take half an hour today to just open up your search console and understand, okay, what are my top 5 keywords that are bringing in traffic? And I feel like a lot of business owners do shy away from that because it can feel a little more technical or can feel a little bit more like data. But mm-hmm. just like, a lot of business owners have to learn how to do their revenue, like all their finance stuff or other parts of your business that just felt like alien language. This is the same thing. Like you can learn it, you can learn the basics of it, and then you can decide, when am I going to be ready to hand this off to someone and subcontract it? Or am I going to keep learning and, internally teach my team to do this? But either way, that's taking ownership of it versus ignoring it and just being like, well, it's going to happen, so I'm just not even going to look at what's going on. Yeah.
So would you say that like SEO in particular with your business, like it's a long-term commitment and it's something that does require pretty constant attention, I think? It's constant attention. It doesn't have to be, I feel, but everything's constant attention. I had this discussion. Uh-huh. Someone was saying to me, like we were talking about how,
I have to all the time, my clients and leads ask like, how long until you see results? Okay, great. Yeah. Great question. And so I was saying, well, we usually say 6 months, 6 to 12 months. I would say 1 year is really the sweet spot to really start seeing traction. But in 6 months, if you're doing SEO, you'll see differences. And she said, Cinthia, but on social media too, like you can't just open an Instagram account today and just, start getting traction today. It takes time, right? And I'm like, oh, you're right. Like, this is just this lie that we've been told ourselves, right? That social media is like this quick fix and like, okay, could you pitch someone through your DMs today? But they're going to want to know, like they're going to get on a call at least to get to know you, right? So there is still that effort involved. And SEO is the same. It requires, effort. I like to say to my clients, like, what seasons of your business could you invest a little bit more, like blog a little bit more, spend a little bit more time looking at your website analytics. That doesn't have to happen all the time for SEO to do well. Most of my clients actually do some rounds of an SEO retainer or SEO support, and then they run with it, and then they keep getting results because it snowballs. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens with a lot of marketing channels. Like you go through a season of intensely working on it, and then it's easier, right? Yeah. So I want to say that because I don't want to give off this idea that it's no effort, but it's some effort, maybe a moment of effort, and then you get to kind of roll with it. And then maybe you have more of a budget for a copywriter or for someone to handle like the technical issues, right? So you can play with that and see how much you want to take on for yourself.
So for somebody who maybe hasn't really paid attention to SEO, or somebody who feels like they're kind of getting started, or it's time to revisit, what do you think are the right next steps for somebody who maybe just really hasn't paid that much attention? Like what is the thing they should absolutely do? Should you hire somebody? You had mentioned an audit. Is that something that, you should hire a professional to do? Is that something you would recommend people do on their own?
So you can hire someone, but the reality is you can't hire someone. I mean, you can hire someone and not know what they're going to do. But I recommend at least getting your hands a little bit dirty, like just a little bit, right? It's funny. I have some water issues in my house right now. And I was not wanting to like understand what was going on, right? But the reality was, for me to explain to the plumber what was going on, I had to kind of understand what was maybe going on. So I like had to talk with my boyfriend, and then I talked to a friend who knows a little more about plumbing. I'm not going to become a plumber anytime soon, but I realized to be able to hire the plumber and to kind of like, just be able to have a basic conversation with this guy, I need to kind of be able to describe what I want, right? And obviously he knows probably more than I do what the actual issue is, but that's the same thing with SEO. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just hire it out and it'll just work. It's like, okay, yeah, but open up the Search Console. Like, to answer your question, the first thing I recommend for anybody who's never thought of doing SEO, whatever, the Search Console, just Google Search Console in your browser. You can sign up and you just register your site and you verify that it's you. And then once you do that, you're going to start to get some data. You're setting it up for the first time. It usually takes 24 to 48 hours to actually see any sort of data. So don't freak out. Mm-hmm. But once you start looking at that, you're going to see some information about how your site's ranking today. I think that's a great first step because it's a fairly easy tool to navigate around. And then once you've looked at that, then you can talk to an SEO expert, because suddenly you have more context and they can even guide you through that. Ask your team. Maybe there's someone who already kind of does SEO or knows some SEO, and ask them for help. Look at what resources you have now. And there's tons of free things. Like I have YouTube videos and a podcast myself, and you can do a lot for free, but I know that also takes up your time. But just doing a basic education is going to help you hire the right person and ask the right questions. And I actually have a podcast episode about how to hire an SEO expert, like what to ask, because a lot of people are scared of getting scammed, which is
Yeah.
legitimate. So
well, we'll have to tell everybody the name of your podcast and the name of that episode if you know it, so they can go search for it.
Yeah. So the podcast is called Digitally Overwhelmed. And the episode is called, I think it's called How to Hire an SEO Expert, but I can share it with you later. And
we'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting me kind of dig in around SEO, and I feel like I learned some good things today, and I feel inspired, honestly, by some of the things that you shared. And I know I need to do some due diligence. I need to go look at my console. I haven't looked at it in a while, and pay attention to these things. So thank you so much. Before we wrap up, I always like to do a little something extra and give people a little bit more insight into you and who you are. And so are you okay if I ask you just a couple more kind of personal questions?
Yeah,
not too
I love
personal,
it.
But
I could keep chatting for a while.
Okay, good. So my first question is, what brings you pleasure or joy?
Right now, just getting out in nature, like walking my dogs, being with my daughter outside we have a big yard. I feel like that just really helps me recharge and connect with myself and with earth, with the earth.
Yeah. And I don't think we talked about this. I know you and I talked, and now I'm like, am I remembering this right? But you're not here in the States, right? You're someplace much more beautiful. And
there's beautiful parts of the States.
Yes. But it feels like more exotic where you are.
More exotic.
Yeah.
I'm in Argentina, so I'm actually Canadian Argentine. So I was born here, brought up in Canada, and then now I live in Argentina again.
I love it. I forgot the Canadian piece of it, but I love that too. Which I'm not surprised. I'm convinced that Canadian people are like some of the best people. I feel that way about Australian people too, but it's like just the best. Okay. What is one thing people would be surprised to learn about you other than that, but maybe people already know that about you?
I have a dog training certification. You can actually see a dog right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's sleeping. I have a dog training certification that I got a few years ago, and it changed how I saw life. Actually, it changed my business too, because it's fascinating how dogs learn and think, and just dogs in general. Like miscellaneous facts. That's
such an interesting thing. Like, who would ever think about? But I love how you say that it helped, like it changed your business and changed your life as well, of learning how something else processes and thinks. And yeah, that's phenomenal.
It's mind-blowing. It's just mind-blowing. And because a lot of dog training is just learning how dogs learn, and dog brain is just a brain like the human brain. So you learn about yourself in that. And anyway, it was just a really nice, I didn't expect it to be. At the time I took it because I had been bitten a couple times by a dog. We live in a very rural area. And so I had a couple just negative dog biting experiences. And I was like, no, I'm taking ownership of this. And we had our own dog, and it changed everything for me, because it changed how I saw my dog, but also myself. So yeah, really good.
Wow. That is I think this might qualify as one of the most interesting answers to that question I've ever received. So thank you for sharing that.
I was just thinking I need to do an episode because I have a Instagram post where I've talked about it, but I don't think I've ever done a podcast. I need to talk about that, because there's a lot of wisdom there. Yes.
Oh my gosh. It feels like such a rich, like, to dig into that. Yes, for sure. Okay. What's something exciting going on in your business right now?
So I have an SEO course for service providers and just anybody who wants to learn SEO, basically. And I decided this year to actually change up to kind of like a month by month kind of membership model. So we are having monthly calls and monthly writing sessions. And so I'm just really excited to be able to support my community in a more consistent, ongoing way versus the course before. The content is still there, but we would have live rounds and So I think it's part of this methodology that I talked about on this call of like, how do I build this consistency that doesn't have to take up tons of my time, but it is a little bit of intentional time that I'm spending with my site and with my SEO.
Mm-hmm. That's phenomenal. And then how can people listening right now connect with you? What's going to be the best way for them?
So I do spend some time on Instagram. I'm Digital Bloom IQ there. And then people can also email me, Cinthia@digitalbloomiq.com. And that's just a great way to, I don't know, ask me questions or hang out or whatever. If you want like specific SEO resources, I have a SEO blog, digitalbloomiq.com. And there you can also kind of learn and just get into it.
I love it. And I just want to comment that Cinthia spells her name with an I and not a Y. So it's Cinthia. So if you're looking her up, you'll find her that way. Cinthia, thank you so much for sharing. And you are a delight. And it was such a pleasure to learn from you. So thank you so much for saying yes to this.
Yeah, no, I had so much fun. And again, I never thought I'd talk about NLP and dog training and SEO all in the same episode.
It's all connected, right? Everything in life, we're all connected. So, all right.
Totally.
And to you, the listener, thank you so much for being here. I hope you found this helpful and inspiring and gets you thinking about your own SEO. Please connect with Cinthia. It sounds like if you're like me and need to take another pass at your SEO, or if you're, just deciding like this is going to be the year you're going to focus on it, go check out her course, go check out her membership and see what's involved there. Wishing you continued success. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.